This is Michael Wilson. We're looking at the question, if you lay up treasure for yourself, are you rich towards God? It helps to start out by making an important, perhaps even logical distinction between earning God's grace, which is impossible, we're saved by faith alone, and meeting God's conditions, which we might want to look at as obligatory things we should be doing. So we cannot earn God's abundance. And so I have to be clear, I'm not a fan of prosperity gospel. I don't believe that it is doctrinally clear in any way, and many are in error because they're doing it for themselves. They get rich by doing this, not because of any right standing with God. So we need to meet the conditions God has laid down for receiving his abundance through faith. If we do not meet these conditions, our faith has no scriptural foundation. In fact, it's just merely a presumption. We assume that because we're a good person, God's going to treat us fairly. To meet God's conditions, our motives and attitudes must be right. So there are four things we ought to look at. First, let's make sure we're not idolizing wealth. In Colossians 3:5, we read, covetousness is idolatry. Second thing is pursuing wealth by sinful methods. So in Jeremiah, he says, like a partridge that hatches eggs, it did not lay, is the man who gains riches by unjust means. We have to be honest and forthright with people and not pursue wealth by any duplicitous or deception. Third thing is trusting ultimately in wealth for security and well-being. Wealth is not going to get us into heaven. And there are many examples of this, and Jesus highlighted it in a couple of his parables. And then the fourth thing is using wealth for selfish gain and self-serving interest. At the end of it, that's really what it's about. We covet, we desire wealth. It's for ourselves, maybe our families, and it's self-serving. And Jesus is clear not to do that. So we have a master example of this from Jesus directly in Luke 12:16-21. Jesus related the parable of the rich man who built bigger barns and filled them with his produce. But the master said to him, "Fool," get that? "Fool, this night your soul will be required of you." And then Jesus added, "So is he who lays up treasure for himself and is not rich towards God." The first direction in which we need to be rich is towards God. Whoever trusts in his riches will fail, but the righteous will flourish like a green leaf. The righteous will flourish like a green leaf. And that's some good news, brothers and sisters.